Okay, these are the notes for section 4.1, special right triangles. Day 2. So yesterday we talked about the two special triangles, the 45, 45, 90, and the 30, 60, 90 triangles. We're going to look at a little different way to approach the ratios that might simplify it and make it a little bit easier. So it's still 1x, 1x, and square root of 2x. I think if you see it maybe with the variables in this location, that maybe it'll make it a little bit more clear. We'll see as we go. And the 30, 60, 90 triangles, remember this is our square root. The legs have the ones and ones here, and the legs on this one are these two because this is where the right angle is. So the hypotenuse is 2x. The longest leg is square root of 3x, and the short leg is again 1x. So maybe this will make it, if we think about these diagrams and the way that I've labeled them, it'll make it a little bit easier because the x is not in front. So first step to solve any special right triangle problem. You draw a diagram if needed. Most of the problems, like the ones we did yesterday, already had pictures, but you will have some today that have just the words, like the ones on the notes that we did. So you need to make sure that you can draw the picture and label it on the right side. Then you have to decide, for step 2, which pattern to use. Is it a 45, 45, 90 triangle? Or is it a 30, 60, 90 triangle? Because remember, that depends on which one of these you're going to use. If it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle, like this, then we're going to use the pattern 1, 1, square root of 2. So whatever our answers are, we multiply x by 1, the other side leg by 1, and the hypotenuse is multiplied by the square root of 2. If, however, it is a 30, 60, 90 triangle, then we're going to use a different set of ratios or patterns. That is 1 square root of 3, 2. Now remember that this is in the leg, hypotenuse, and leg, hypotenuse pattern. So this is a leg, and this is a leg, and this is a hypotenuse. Same for the above. So then we have to set up an equation. For the side that has the given information. You can't solve if you don't have only one variable. So if you have two variables, and I'll show you in the example in a second, then maybe you can do those. Once you've set up the equation, we have to solve for the scalar in the pattern. Usually that's the x. Like, what am I going to multiply everything by? And the final step will be to substitute to find the other sides. So let's look at our first example. So this is a 45-45 triangle. So that means that I need to use those ratios, that pattern, to solve this. So remember that I said the first thing you should do is label the sides. So this is 1r, 1r, and square root of 2r. Now, how come I'm using r? Well, there's already an x here. Let's not confuse it by having the same variable just in case it changes things. So we're going to have an r right here. So now that I know this says 1r equals y. This says 1x or 1r equals x. That doesn't help me. But this says that the square root of 2r is 2. I can solve that. So then we have 2 equals the square root of 2r. So we divide, not that. We divide by the square root of 2. That becomes 1. Divide by the square root of 2. And R, when you use the magic of the yellow calculator, this becomes square root of 2. That's our final answer for this side. So now, y equals 1r, which is square root of 2, and x equals 1r, which is square root of 2. Put little tails on my 1's and x's. So there are the ratios and the answers that we need for that question. I will post a copy of the picture of this on Canvas as well after you look at this, so that you can see if you've done your U-Try correctly. Remember, follow the instructions, label the diagram, set up the equation, and solve, and then do any substitution that you need. So I'll post a picture with everything done so you can go back and check right here. All right, let's look at example 2. This is a 30-60 triangle. So here's my 30. Remember that we're going to use the ratio, and I'm going to use x's for this one. So I have 1x here, because I have u and v, I can use an x. The longest leg, remember legs make the right angle. The longest leg is square root of 3 times x. And the hypotenuse is 2x. So I've labeled my sides. That's step 3. So I've labeled my sides with the proper things. Now I have to set up my equation, which is step 4. So this is 2 variables. This is 2 variables. This is 2 variables. This only has 1 variable. So I can set up that 6 equals 2x, divide by 2, x is 3. Okay, that was pretty easy. So then we look at v. v equals 1x, which is 3. Here's 1x right here. So x is 3, or v is 3. And then u equals square root of 3 times x, which is square root of 3 times 3. And we just rewrite that for proper form as 3 square root of 3. So again, there are my 2 answers for the sides for v and u. Again, I will post what the answer and work is for this question in a photo or a JPEG after you have a chance to copy these notes and try it. But you need to make the attempt to do that before you look at my picture. The last example is a word problem. We did some of those in class yesterday, and we're going to do some on the worksheet today. And remember that in real life, no one's going to hand you an equation. They're going to hand you a word problem to be able to solve. So what's the first step? Step 1, back in the top right, top left corner, says what? You need to draw a diagram. So I have a square. So I'm going to draw a square. No laughing. And it says to use a diagonal. So we're going to do, there's my diagonal. And it says the perimeter of a square is 48 centimeters. If it's a square, it has 4 equal sides. So 48 divided by 4 is 12. So each side is 12. So this is 12 and this is 12. I need to find this exact length for my diagonal. So, what kind of triangle is this? This is 90, right? And this diagonal cuts a 90 in half. That means that each of these angles is 45. Excuse me. And so I'm going to have to use the information, the pattern for a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So then I have to label my sides with I don't want to use blue again, with the right pattern. So go back and look at your patterns. For 45, 45, it says that it's 1 up here. Says that it's 1, 1, square root of 2. So then this is sorry, I'm getting my thoughts together. This is 1x, 1x, and right here is square root of 2x. It doesn't matter if you use x square root of 2 or square root of 2x. It's the same thing. They're both multiplying. So I'm just trying to give you another way to see what we did yesterday so that maybe it makes it a little bit clearer. So now that I have all of my things set up, the diagonal is or equals square root of 2x. Do I know what x is? X equals 12. So I'm going to come back over here and put the d equals square root of 2 times 12. And then we simplify that or rewrite it in proper notation so that I have 12 square root of 2. That's it. Again, I will post the work for this after you attempt it. So follow the steps. Draw the triangle as needed, or the diagram as needed. Determine whether you're going to use the 46 or 30, 60, 90 or the 45, 45. Set up your equation, just like I've done in the 3 examples. Solve the equation, substitute for whichever side you need, and you're done. I will go over this again in class on Thursday before we do an activity that reinforces what we've done Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you for being nice to the sub and doing the work that you need to do. I appreciate it. You're having more fun than I am at the district office. And I'll see you guys on Thursday.